Hi! I'm not sure really how to start this video other than the fact that I beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So, yeah, pop applause. Woo! Yee! It's too long. It's too long. So, I'm probably going to go back and 100% it. I beat the main story. I pretty much did most of the side story stuff. I just need to finish the proto relics and do all the actual mini games at the golden saucer, and the Queen's Blood mini game. So I didn't do anything. Actually, you know what? I'm just a terrible gamer. I didn't do anything. Rebirth had the daunting task of being the sequel to the remake, where you get to explore the world. And there's so much of the world, and they had to make it look as polished and AAA and yada yada yada. And they did a really good job. I honestly, the world of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is almost like exactly how I pictured it in my head, barring a couple things. I think my favorite region has to be the tie between Costa del Sol's region and the Junon region, because Junon region is actually, it's really funny. So when you start it, it's like in like the rocky, it's a little rocky, but it's still some grassland. But as you leave it, it's like, whoa, and you get to explore more of the right side. You realize it's like kind of like foresty. There's green and grass stuff, and there's like a town, and you're like, whoa, what the wait, this is all here. So yeah, the world is awesome. Exploring it was really fun. Because you can move a lot faster in this game, and plus you auto hop and auto climb stuff, so that was nice. I will admit, we'll probably get to it. Chadley, I don't want to talk about Chadley, but yeah, the fact that they got all the party members to walk around the map, barring Sid and Vincent, it was honestly, I didn't think they'd be able to do it, because that's like the best part, just seeing everyone like on their chocobos or running around with me, or just fighting the enemies even though they're not being controlled by me. I'm like wow, the gang's all here. That's something that was missing from 16. Actually, I think Final Fantasy 16 had too little of a party member thing, because granted, the game's like way more character action focused than this game is. Speaking of, I think the combat in 7 Rebirth is way better than in Remake. They sped it up a bit. It's much more faster. The area for combat's bigger, so you can have more like large, huge enemies. I think some of like the perfect guard is great. The big thing, of course, they updated a bunch of characters, playstyles. I think Cloud now, when you dodge, Cloud has a dodge where, depending on how you dodge, what you do after you dodge, how you press square after you dodge changes your attack. So if you just mash square, Cloud does like a range attack, but if you hold square, Cloud will just jump to the main, do like an air attacks. That was awesome. In Remake, Aerith has like a triangle. Her triangle ability is Tempest, but now it's just you hold square and it's Tempest, and then they changed it to Ward Shift, where depending on, you can place wards throughout the map and you can just teleport to them, which is incredible. That's a buff, and that's the best buff Aerith has. A couple things, I think they just gave more abilities to Barret. I don't really know if they changed too much, or maybe I just got better at the game because I played Remake like right before Rebirth, so I understand how this character works kind of. I don't think Tifa didn't change that much. No, actually Tifa has a couple of aerial stuff now, which is awesome. Speaking of, the aerial combat got improved so much. Cloud and Tifa are doing all that stuff in the air, and Yuffie, oh my, Yuffie's too OP. They took her gameplay from Remake and just buffed her up. It's like Yuffie is super strong. I don't think I ever, once I got her in my party and once I figured out how she worked, I did not change her at all. That she was there, because she just does so much damage. She can do so much damage, especially with her doppelganger move, where like you have 2 Yuffies on the battlefield. You spam Windstorm, spam Brutal War, spam all that other abilities. She's great. She's great. Red 13, I think Red 13 for me, I understood what his gameplay was, where like mostly like guarding, and then you can attack, and then you can build up that vengeance mode gauge. But honestly, what I would do is I would like equip the extended block materia, and then just not control him for a minute, and then go back to him when when his vengeance gauge was full, and just activated it. I think if I had spent more time with Red 13, I would have understood more about how he worked. Kate Sith surprised me. I will admit, I didn't expect Kate Sith to play like he does. He's a little more of like a wild card, like a jack of all trades, like fortune teller, where some of his abilities are more random while on the Moogle or off the Moogle. And I think once I go back and play that game again, once I replay those chapters again, I'm probably gonna have a way better time with Kate Sith's because he was probably my least favorite, but not because he was bad, just because I didn't have a grasp on how he played. But everyone else, oh my god, improvements across the board. Like, everybody's combat is way better, especially with the synergy skills and abilities, or whatever you switch the two. I don't really know which one. There's two synergy things. There's the one where you guard and you have the face buttons, and your face buttons can do like offensive or defensive attacks. And then there's your synergy abilities, which is like the team up attacks, like the huge ones that do damage or raise your limit level or grant you certain status buffs or whatnot. I think I like the abilities a lot. I like the animations are pretty, you know, they're great. Square Enix, this is Final Fantasy VII. If they messed up like one thing, we'll get to it, but if they messed up like one thing about these guys, like they would have been they know 7 is their cash cow and they can't mess it up. There's too much. They can't mess it up. So I'm glad to see those synergy abilities are awesome. I think the ones where you block and you click the face buttons, I think the placement's kind of weird, because sometimes I'm still used to Remake when you guard and you want to dodge. In this one, if you're guarding and you press circle, something will happen. I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I just wanted to dodge. So maybe in like a future or maybe part 3, they can find a way to smooth that out. I'd much rather it be like hold, because I know most of them are just like mashing, but I feel like if you were holding them, it'd be way better. Because if you hold, because Iron Defense, I feel like you should just hold it, or like some of those abilities should just be able to hold. But well, you can do with Power Cleave. Maybe all of them should be able to hold. I don't know. I'm spitballing. I'm not a game designer. Real quick, back on the open world part, I think the amount of content in this game is staggering compared to Remake. I feel like they tried their best with Midgar, you know, because it's just like one city, and in the OG game it's like only like what 3-4 hours, or like even less than that if you can speedrun it. But they tried to extend it because of course Remake was just Midgar, because they wanted to make a big thing out of Midgar. So they kind of tried to fluff up the content in Midgar. They didn't do a really great job, but you know, it's fun just going around tournaments, push-up challenges, whatnot. In Rebirth though, they let loose. It's crazy. They went ham on the side content. Queen's Blood, the Chadley stuff, the side missions with the characters where you spend time with them, which are honestly, I'm a step up from Remake solely for just interacting with the cast more and learning more about them, and you know, being like falling in love with all of them before they're all brutally ripped away from you by the time you beat the game. Again, like the amount of like things to do in this game is massive. Like that's the biggest part. This game is a big game. I have bought many PlayStation 5 games, some of which were $70, and I think this and Infinite Wealth are the games where I'm like, this is $70. Yeah, this makes sense. Like Rebirth is, I don't know how they did it. Like it's too big. It's too big, and it ended up being pretty good. I'm just happy there's so much stuff in this game. They really took the opportunity to just expand their world and their characters and really get to do the things that OG players and new players would expect out of like an open world Final Fantasy, even though it's not really open world, it's like zones. Yeah, unfortunately for me, I have a problem where I can't do too much of the side content stuff before I lose my mind. So I think it was around like when you head back to Costa del Sol, after doing a bunch of side missions and stuff beforehand and getting a notification saying you have more things to do now, I just decided to just speed run through the story at that point. So I'll eventually go back and complete everything because I have to, because it's one of those games. So as far as gameplay and game design world goes, I love it. I think my least favorite region is Hot Take Gongaga. I don't like navigating Gongaga. Gongaga, it's just too weird. Like the mushroom, you have to remember which mushrooms you can jump with the chocobo. That's what I just skipped. That's my first region I just did not complete because I couldn't deal with how like tight and mazy. Like, the whole thing's like a maze. Gongaga is like a maze kind of, and that's I didn't like that very much. I don't want to get into the story yet, so just quick things just to throw them out there. The gold saucer is amazing. I can't believe they got away with that. Half of that stuff, especially, oh my god, especially the first date, I was like, what am I doing? I hope I don't fuck it up. And then the second date with the play and the music, I was like, you can do this in a video game? We can do this now? Square Enix, you can do this now? It's crazy. This is awesome. Why would we do more of this? It's crazy. I don't want to give too much away about it, but it truly is like a beautiful, beautiful sequence of events, especially with Aerith, and depending on who your date is. I did Tifa because I'm a true one. I'm real, I'm loyal, and I'm honest. What more good stuff can I say? The voice acting is way better than before. Ever since Video Game Donkey made that video about the amount of like anime grunts and like weird noises the voice actors would make in remake, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I didn't notice it that much in Rebirth, which may be because of my TV speakers, but also maybe because the voice acting direction got better, or they kind of realized they kind of toned down the animeisms, which is interesting. Yeah, overall, like, I think the presentation is way better than remake. Everything's good about this game. And like, if you're ever asked me, hey, should I buy Rebirth? I would say, yeah, if you have a PlayStation 5, or if you're waiting for it to come out on PC and you already played Remake, or you played OG 7 and you know something about 7, whatever, I would recommend Rebirth, because it's just, you won't feel like it's a waste. You'll feel like you've got your money's worth, is what I will say, because the Rebirth is just chock full of like video game stuff. So this is the section of the video where I talk about the story, and I'm dreading it because I don't know how I feel about it. First off, the first beginning of this game is great. Playing as Zack, I was like shocked you could play as Zack. Like, that's insane. They made Zack a fully playable character. So it was really interesting following like what's going on with Zack. Why is he alive? Why is Stamp different? Like, what's going on? While we were with Cloud and everyone. Like, this game really wants to do this thing where it wants its cake and eat it too. Well, this whole remake trilogy, because initially you're like, oh, they're just remaking 7, except, you know, stretching it out because for money. But no, they're changing the story. You think they're changing the story, and then they don't, but then they do. And it's kind of like you're kind of seeing what they added, what they took away, what they swapped or switched. It's just it was interesting trying to keep up with what they were going for. And as far as Zack's story, I think over time I just got like when are they going to explain stuff? It just feels like they haven't been explaining stuff at all, and then you have to wait till the end until Sephiroth kind of lays out what's going on. But that's the only part I didn't like. I wish Zack had more. I wish Zack's campaign was less like meandering around and more like finding answers to what happened, what's going on, because but then again, I feel like most of it just kind of happens towards the end, and you're kind of like, oh man, I wanted to know like earlier because that would have been more interesting. I think as far as the actual OG story, the main time, the Cloud story was handled really well. It's the writers know their characters. I think they do. I think they know their characters. Like, these characters have been alive probably longer than I have, honestly. So these writers, whoever wrote, I forget, I don't want to be rude, but whoever wrote the cutscenes, the dialogue, and all that stuff for these characters, they understand who these characters are, how they act, how they think, and they know how to write them. So I wasn't mad at like the writing of the characters' dialogue and back and forth per se. I think with Square Enix games, the only really Square Enix games that Nomura has worked on that I can compare to is Tetsuya Nomura, creative director of 7 Rebirth, not director, because he was a director in Remake, but the co-director is now the director of Rebirth, and Nomura was the creative director. I played Kingdom Hearts games for so long that I'm just used to bad, poorly delivered dialogue. So when Remake happened, I was like, wait, a Nomura game can have good dialogue and voice acting? And then Rebirth, I'm like, I guess this is just something we can always do. I think the game's pacing, it's great. And then you get to the mansion, and then the Shinra mansion, and then you play as Kate Sith, and you're like, I just want to progress the story. I don't want to play as Kate Sith. I'm sorry. I don't get it. It's a shame that Vincent and Sid aren't playable, but at least they're there. Like, I didn't expect Sid to be like your pilot. That was nice. Or your pilot and your captain, or your boat captain, whatever. That was great. It was nice seeing at least them. They know that you guys, like, they need to be here. And hopefully in part 3 we'll be able to go to Rocket Town and actually play as Sid and Vincent now that Aerith is dead. Oh boy, I guess now's a good time as any to talk about the ending, which is certainly something. Initially, when I first played Remake and I got to that ending, I was kind of like mad, because I thought, oh, this is just Kingdom Hearts crap. And I don't mean Kingdom Hearts crap in like multiple timelines and like shenanigans. I'm talking like dialogue and delivery. It felt very Kingdom Heartsy, like where characters talk very soft and like they don't really react to one another. They just talk and like they just exposition nonsense. Like they exposize, or they just throw out exposition like it's like nothing, and it's like there's no like energy here. Despite the cutscenes in Remake and Rebirth being the best cutscenes in like video game history, I think we do like currently like the game industry, like these cutscenes are great next to I don't know, like Capcom, I guess. I don't know, like their cutscenes are incredible. But towards the ending, I kind of realized, oh, they're gonna end at the ancient city. They're gonna end with Aerith dying or not dying, and the whole time I'm thinking they're not gonna kill Aerith. It's so on the nose. It's almost too on the nose. They're not going to kill Aerith. And then the game, the whole time I'm thinking, man, will they kill Aerith? Will they do it? Will they not do it? I feel like they won't do it, but they kind of have to do it if they want part 3 to remain mostly like smooth, unless they want part 3 to be like a brand new thing, which I doubt, because that would like piss off everyone, because you're expecting this remake project to have its cake and eat it too. And if it just eats the cake, then you're like, you have to have your cake. But what they ended up doing was something ridiculous, and I'm not sure if I love it or hate it. My problem with the ending isn't the whole timeline scenarios, like Dream scenario, like how Dream or like certain choices affect timelines and whatnot, like Dream. Basically, this game, at the ending of this game, is basically Dream Drop Distance. If you played Dream Drop Distance, you know what I'm talking about. Or if you understand the words Dream Drop Distance, you know what I mean with like how they explain the timelines and all the other stuff. But I find its presentation intentionally confusing, and not in like a good way. I understand what they were going for with like getting in Cloud's head that, oh, Cloud doesn't believe Aerith is dead, so he's hallucinating her even though he's not, or he is. It's kind of like Cloud's psyche is like so bad that he thinks he saved Aerith even though he didn't. I think having so many fights with Sephiroth is at the end is ridiculous and wild. I don't know why they did that, especially because in Remake it's your whole party against Sephiroth, and that's the cool part. That's the best part, where it's like everyone against Sephiroth. It's like wow, it's so cool. In Rebirth, it's Cloud, I believe. First, it's just this random monster. I forget the name, Genova or whatever. I forget the boss you fight after Aerith dies. It dies. I forget. But then there's some stupid shit. It's Sephiroth. And then you're playing as, it's Cloud and Zack versus Sephiroth. And that's great. That's awesome. And then it's just much more Sephiroth, except it's not Sephiroth, but it is Sephiroth. And then at the end, it's Cloud and I guess an alternate timeline of Aerith or something. I have no idea. Versus Sephiroth. And it's just one of those like what are we doing? Come on. I don't, listen, I'm okay with you changing stuff. I'm fine with that, because you said so from the outset with the ending of Remake, you were going to do that, but this is just ridiculous. Are you kidding me? It's just too much nonsense. There's too much what? It feels like they reached the ancient city and during development of the story, and they realized, guys, if we keep going, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make our release date. Our budget's going to be too much. It's going to be a disaster. This is a PlayStation 5 title. How many people are going to realistically have a PlayStation 5 by the time Rebirth comes out? So they tried to just cram so much stuff into this ending, more so than Remake, Because Remake, I don't believe Remake had like an entire cutscene where you're flying through a white space while Sephiroth is explaining how multiverses work, and you're like, oh, what's going on in my head? And it's so dumb. It's so dumb. The way at the end, I was just confused. Like after like the credits roll and I see creative director Tetsuya Nomura, I'm like what? Wait, is that it? Like what happened? Why would you? Like that was like the first time I was like, why would you change something, say you're gonna change something, not change something, then change it, but then not change it, but then act like you change it, but then reveal that you didn't change anything. And it's to say I'm not upset at this ending. I think if I said before, I'm not upset at Rebirth's ending. What I am is dumbfounded with how they went about it. They could have went so much simpler with it. In the OG game, Aerith just dies. That's the whole thing. Aerith dies. You don't even understand what she's doing, I think, and she dies. But in Rebirth, they tried to like trick you. They tried to like make you a fool. They tried to like, Cloud saved her. Oh no, he didn't. Boy, he maybe did. What he did? We're jumping around a lot. It's Cloud versus Cloud and Zack, guys. You were playing as Cloud and Zack, and you're fighting Sephiroth. Isn't that amazing? And it's like, what's going on? I love all this. I love the presentation, but what is going on? Why is Zack in like a church with like a giant end of the world thing happening? Where did he wake up? When I finished Remake for the second time, I understood what was going on. I understood what the plot was. I understood what they were going for, why they made the decisions that they did, and why the ending is kind of Kingdom Heartsy in a strange way. With Rebirth, I get it. And I'm just dumbfounded as to how they went about doing it. Because for 90% of the game's main story, you're jiving, you're vibing, you're having a fun time, and then you reach the ancient city, and then it just becomes like a slog to go through almost. So it's really obvious, like I've said it before, like this whole Remake trilogy is Square Enix and the writers, the creatives behind OG 7 and new 7 wanting to have their cake and eat it too, with having new stuff and old stuff be implemented like this. Initially, I was all gung-ho for it because I thought, you know, if you're gonna remake Final Fantasy VII in this way, you might as well make it weird. You might as well do weird stuff with it. And they have. But now I'm starting to think, you're not, based off this ending, the fact that the ending is kind of, it's different enough to where you can assume things are like changed, but it's mostly on the same kind of level as where we were at in OG7. It made me realize, oh, they're doing a delicate like little balance here, and I'm afraid they're not gonna have, part 3 is not gonna have the strength to conclude it properly. Because they could do it two ways. One way is they play it straight, where there's new stuff, but it ends roughly the same, and then you can go to Advent Children and you're not missing a beat. Or they can just flat out change the ending of OG7 for the third part of the game, and then Advent Children, this is just another timeline, and Advent Children's just another timeline. Do I want, which one do I want? I don't know, man. I just want to play Queen's Blood. The game isn't bad. The game's great. I feel like I've talked a lot of negative stuff about the story, but the game's great. Yeah, I don't hate. I didn't like. I wasn't like frustrated at any part of Rebirth, gameplay wise. It's just narratively, I was just kind of like all over the place with that ending. Like I was in Remake. Who knows? Maybe if I replay Rebirth, I will change my mind. That's pretty much all my thoughts about Rebirth. This is just a quick little video. I didn't want to, I am working on more scripted content. It's just, I've been, you know, just the funk, but you know how it is. That's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching. And, yeah, I guess next video will come out whenever I feel like it. And, yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep.